countries of Italy, Spain and Greece over the last 11 years, so from 2005. It is the same methods, the same data. That I can say, yeah. How robust this is and whether I should have produced the whole figure in confidence intervals, but then they wouldn't be so easily able. So these are mean values, all of the confidence intervals. But the confidence interval is at least plus minus 20%, so that you have an idea. Yeah? But one sees here that if we look at your countries with the blue lines, yeah, that more or less you have a decline of the shadow economy in your countries, in your country. Yeah? If we look at Greece, it's higher, but also a decline. And Greece is the only country which I know in the last years where the recession is so worse. Normally in a recession you have a substitute effect. People work more in the shadow economy to compensate for the income they lost in the official economy. But if the recession has a size of the Greece had in the last 4 or 5 years, people even don't have any money left to employ a shadow economy workers or find a job in the shadow economy. So that is why we have a considerable reduction of the Greece shadow economy, but with a different reason. And again, then you have the figures of Spain. I had already some controversies with the Italian statistical office. They say it can't be that Spain has a lower one, it's for sure higher in Spain. I tried to make different estimates, but I didn't find it, but I might have made a systematic error in the case of Spain. So in principle, to have an estimation of a panel set, I do have a panel set of 38 here European countries over the period 99 to 2012-13, depends a bit. The weight a different countries then gets and estimations is of course something different if you make a single country estimate. Yeah? So if we decompose it, I thought that might interest you too, with Greece, Italy, Portugal and Spain, your country in italics here, written, what are the driving forces? Yeah? We have here an average size from 1999 to 2010, yeah? And what is now, if you standardize the influential factors, normalize it all to 100, that you can make a comparison. Yeah? What comes out here, then you see, if I make a comparison between these neighbors or Mediterranean countries, the personal income, the direct taxation has the highest influence in your country. Indirect taxation is much higher in Greece than in your country. Tax morale is very similar, but this is again a caveat is here taking place. The tax morale data is so rare for these countries over this period, it's almost like a constant. It's an overstatement, but one has to be very careful. Unemployment, one sees, has in Spain a much higher influential factors. Self-employment in Greece and in Spain, and is quite similar, but much lower in income. GDP growth is quite influential in your country, and business freedom is not so much influential. So, and here you have the lines, the average over these 38 countries, so that you can make some comparison. I send the slides here, so everyone who wants to have them can have it, of course. Yeah. This is the same now with different colors. One sees here, but one also sees if one makes it strict standardizations that I was somewhat surprised that the differences are not bigger between these countries. Because those of you who come from public finance, there are distinct differences between the taxation and a lot of other issues of this country. But it doesn't seem to make such a big difference. Now let me come to corruption. I have here the corruption from last year. Now in September this year we will have the 2015 values. For 14 we have the 30 with the lowest one. We have here Germany, we have Austria, and of course at the top is either Denmark, New Zealand, Finland, or New Zealand is on the top and switches with Denmark. So from the ranking the results are robust, from all other things are not. So if we look at Italy, you are, I would say, in the middle field with this rank, yeah, 69, and you see here the higher the value, the lower the corruption. Again, they use it. I don't find this useful, but I would say a clear-cut thing: the higher the more. But it is so. I didn't change it. So here you have Italy on rank 69, together with Greece, Romania, and again now you can have, I would say, but not being an expert on your country, I would say your corruption and corruption activities are significantly lower than the Greece ones, I would say. Not to please you, but from experience. Yeah? But okay, we have it here. You are in one line with Bulgaria, with Romania, and I did some studies for the European Union, especially for Bulgaria and Romania, and it was unbelievable. So that tells you a bit that one has to be really careful about a corruption measure. But this is the only one which is available for a longer time span. Now, what did I do to come up with a figure of your country about the damage? I estimated the production function of your countries having the usual things in, like labor, capital, technical progress, etc., education. And one of these indicators was the corruption index, and it has a statistically significant influence, and the more corruption, then from this I standardized it and I calculated the damage. Yeah? So in billion euros here, one sees here the damage of what this is. Of course, this is let's say, ceteris paribus argument, and of course one can, I do not have real figures, because this is an artificial calculation, not to be misunderstood, but one gets an idea how large it is here, yeah, and it's roughly half of the size or a third of the size of the shadow economy. But as I said, shadow economy is something different. If we look at the interaction between shadow economy and corruption, if you make a picture here, then one sees that European countries are more at the lower end. I thought I had circled your country. No, sorry, this is not circled here. I apologize for this. Find it here. Here we have it. Yeah, so here with quality of states institutions, another measure of corruption, but then we see here. So then we see here that Italy and Greece, these were here circled, is of course have a higher corruption than most other traditional European countries like Great Britain, Switzerland, the Netherlands, Norway. So we have almost a cluster of the Central and Northern European countries, and then a scattered plot of Eastern and Southern European countries. Again here, only to tell you that I'm aware of it, if you take out Greece and Italy, you get a different line. So this is a classical outlier problem, how you handle this. I'm aware of this. Coming to the end, shadow economy and corruption, what can one do to a shadow economy, reimburse the VAT on labor-intensive services, the so-called Luxembourg model. At least in Luxembourg, France and Belgium it worked quite well. With all these partial measures in public finance, you have other distortions. One should be aware, why is this expelled from the VAT and the other one not? And what if you do it for a long time, what effects will you create? Yeah? Also, in Germany we call it the so-called Handwerker bonus, that household investments are tax deductible. Normally it works, and if you get a bonus back from the state, people apply for it. Crucial question is how much does this reduce in shadow economy activities, yeah? And whether these bonuses are so useful all the time, one can have severe question marks. In the crisis 2008 and 9, Germany introduced a car bonus, yeah? So if you buy a new car, you got 2,000 euros. It was really funny. 2,000 euros on the average price of the new cars bought from 25,000, so less than 10%. And we had a jump in new cars bought. So this incentives, it must some type of, in quote, fiscal illusion people had. Yeah? Why? And a lot of functioning cars, well-functioning cars, and they must be shredded. The deal was you can't sell it again. You must shred the car, so it's destroyed. So one could have, so later on there were a lot of studies saying this type of bonus had more negative effects, and it was, of course, it was a program all over Europe for the car industries. But so with these bonuses, one has to be careful, but maybe it might work in this area. What is normally done, especially in Germany and Austria, we just have a tax reform, and a part of this tax reform will be financed by more punishment. And this is, a hot debate in my country whether this is useful or not. But for some areas, like I said, higher increased fines should work, and you have to have the institution. At least you have a special trained police force for this. We have nothing in Austria, so that one should also be aware. And of course, decrease the wage costs and the tax rate. Corruption, firms that I said already should be banned for public contracting. You could protect much more whistleblowers. Yeah. Maybe you could also do monetary incentives, but again, to get an award for a crime you do is a very tricky thing. It's the same with tax amnesties. Yeah, tax amnesty we can do only every 20 years, else it becomes cheating. One should be aware of this, and whether you don't fool more people who have been honest. If you award someone who has been dishonest, is also is not so easy. Yeah? Public interest should immediately lose. This is now discussed in Austria, and especially, okay, if they have to retreat, that's common all over the world. But a new thing is whether it's legally possible is now will be decided by the Supreme Court of Austria. What would really hurt if you would take them their nice pension rights and only they get the minimum pension wage. Yes, someone who is a top bureaucrat, that would really hurt. Yeah, that I'm convinced would have an effect. Yeah, that he thinks, oh, if I take a bribe and if I lose then my pension rights, then again a very economic calculus. Everybody can calculate how much money this is. Then this might, but whether this is legal, at least in Germany and in Austria, is still investigated. Okay, strict compliance measures. This is at least done now in a lot of firms now. Now, what did we learn? Coming to the end, we see that shadow economy is linked to high levels of corruption. Yeah? Countries with large firms often rely also on shadow economy activity, vice versa, in order to avoid detection. As a bright bureaucrats, low tax revenues reduce the quality of public services if you are in this vicious circle, like Greece, for example, it is. as one thinks. Weaker legal systems, of course, are one of the big drivers of corruption, and then people go more quicker in the underground. And a shrinking economy due to less regulation reduces people, so if you are leaving this vicious circle, then it might work. Realizing that government provides, if the government does a good job, that is obvious that you then are less punished. So what did we learn scientifically? We have first a more robust insights of the interaction. We have first the preliminary results of damage, also underlined primarily. We did learn something about uncertainty, not enough, and I didn't touch on the whole area of microeconometric studies in this area, which also myself did, but I concentrated now on this one. From a microeconomic perspective, we have also some interesting knowledge. So I thank you for the attention, and if you want to have a discussion,
many thanks to Professor Schneider for his speech, and I wanted. Many thanks to Professor Schneider for his speech. I want to present myself. I'm Giorgio Rota. I'm the director of the Centro Einaudi, and I wanted to thank you very much for the attendance of this interesting lecture, and also want to thank you, Francesca Rota and Marisa Rota, to be here, because this conference and this prize is established by the Centro Einaudi in honor of Giorgio Rota, that was one economist of the Einaudi Center. He was head of the economic department in the 80s. And I want also to thank all the junior researchers that participated to this prize, not only the three that won the prize and which we will they will explain their thesis here in the following section. I want also to thank very much the researcher that worked to the prize. And I think that the lecture of Professor Schneider has been very, very impressive, and because all the data we saw were very interesting with respect to the Italian situation. The Italian situation is one in which, even with different intensity, corruption, the shadow economy are a big problem for the economic, for the Italian economy. And I want to ask to Professor Schneider, before going after a question, and do you have one of the Italian problems is that the foreign direct investment that we attract are a small proportion in terms of the foreign direct investment that we produce, and it means that there are more Italian firms that want to expatriate than international firms that consider Italy to a good place to do business. And this is a problem not also because in this way we take Italian saving and we invest abroad, but it's a problem because the international saving do not invest in Italy, and is affecting the Italian investment rate overall and the GDP overall. There are estimates of the impact of the corruption and the shadow economy on the foreign direct investment. That is because enforcing the increasing the foreign direct investment in Italy is one of the mission of the Italian government that is actually in charge. They want to do something for this.
That's a very challenging, difficult question. I haven't worked on this, so I can only scientifically speculate on this, but I think Italian firms leave, especially if they have made experience with corruption and with organized crime, and seeing that also their most productive and well-trained employees would not like to work in such a firm, if bribery or corruption is a common source. Yeah? And this might reflect then to go north or to go outside Italy, that you can avoid these problems. But I haven't seen a good study and empirical evidence how important this is fulfilling ceteris paribus. International firms come because from abroad your country still have, and I think it's justified, an excellent reputation in a lot of things. So that might attract a lot of foreign firms to come here, and maybe but again I haven't seen the figures. If they stay, sometimes that they might leave again. Yeah. But to have a joint venture and to have some production in Italy in certain areas, like in the whole area of fashion, in the whole area of furniture, in the whole area of design, I think is very attractive. Yeah. You see it with cars, that big American firms might make joint ventures, and so they might hope to gain from this Italian spirit of being excellent in design and in other things. But as I said, I didn't work so much on it, so I had only speculated. From what I saw from this first calculation of an Italian production firm, of course, if you split up Italian production into different categories, what you can do, it's not so difficult. Yeah, still to have reliable figures for your countries on the capital stock is not as easy as you think. What is the capital stock of your car factory? And you have a lot of problems, what belongs to it and what doesn't. Yeah? The statistical categories are not so conclusive as they should be. But you can decompose it, and then you see that then you get out the obvious result. I don't want to bore you with tables, that you have the highest interaction and the highest damage in the construction industry. It's a result everybody would expect, yeah? Because the construction industry, construction firms have a lot to do with public officials and with the state or with local, with state and Italian government. So no wonder that you get out this result, yeah? And you get out not so much with respect to, as I said, design and pure machinery and other things. Yeah? But that result, I think, doesn't help so much. But there you have it, and also that firms come in these specialized areas, I think, is still worthwhile for them. And that Italian firms who think, oh, we don't want this anymore, and I don't want to pay these bribes, and then I can be blackmailed, etc., move out, I think, is one reaction. And this is one, when they move out, you lose a part of your GDP, obviously, if it's produced in other countries.
Okay, please. Would you like to come and
one question, excuse me, is concern the using of the word. You use shadow systematize better using black economy, but is not the question. Which is the area for your studying where is more easy to have in the economy, shadow economy, corruption? This is one question. And the second one is more easy to involve public institution, public employment, or private? Thank you.
Would you like to study questions one by one, or would you prefer to have them all up, or a certain number?
I don't know how much time we have.
We have about a quarter of an hour for questions.
Okay, then. Yeah,
Any other questions? Please.
Well, thank you for your comments and explanation in relation to corruption, the effects and the shadow economy. I agree about the name, because there are different types of black. This is the reason. Mainly, I think, to use this term instead of a black economy. But imagining to be able to discover all the shadow economy and to oblige this total amount to emerge, that means to play with the regular rules, that means to pay contributions, to pay taxes, to fight with bureaucracy, and to respect all type of rules. Which amount of this shadow economy would survive according to your opinion?
Other questions? Well, I have a number of questions and observations. And first of all, I must thank you wholeheartedly for this very comprehensive and very stimulating presentation of what the shadow economy and the corruption are, and also for your final remark that we have learned something, but we still have many things to learn. Society is evolving very rapidly. The use of the internet may, in certain aspects, favor the shadow economy. Yes, in your slide 5, you talk about prostitution as being sort of borderline between the shadow. I think it has in fact been taken into account recently in European accounts. You didn't mention the drug sector. What would you think about that? And talking about sectors, I remember that Giorgio Rota, to whom these lectures is entitled, once studied tourism as a sector, and he discovered that it was very difficult to see where the shadow economy ended and the official one began, because it was a whole circuit that tended to be submerged and never come to the attention of statisticians. I think in the case of Greece, actually tourism is still one of these things. I wonder whether you have some comments about that. Then there's a more general question. Among the factors that might affect the extent of the shadow economy, did you ever consider some sociological factors, also factors like religion? Would you say that religion has something to do with it? Where religion is higher, do you have greater fiscal honesty, or maybe this is not in the... Finally, I think this sort of links with the other question. You talk about 190 billion which are sort of lost to the official Italian economy because of the shadow effect. Did you consider in this the discouragement effect? I mean, a lot of the the shadow firms, in fact, wouldn't survive in market conditions if they had to pay tax. They would probably close up, and did you somehow take account of that or not? And then there was a final remark. Among your proposals, you said that people who accept bribe in public service should immediately lose their office and pension benefits. Mine is a very sad remark. Immediately here in Italy could mean something like 10 years. Because, of course, these people would start a legal process, and the legal process would go up to 3 degrees, and then maybe it would come back. And so, I'm afraid we should first reform our legal process, and then try to do that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all for very good questions. That is precisely my problem when I talk about this principle. One should talk several hours, then I could, of course, tackle this. First important thing, shadow economy, black economy. I know also with Eurostat there's a fierce debate. Now, prostitution is now included in my definition of the shadow economy, that it produces a value added, elsewhere mostly men would demand it. I would say no one would demand it if it would give him some utility. Yeah? So that's here is clear what I meant, that it comes because a lot of prostitutions, even now legally done with these pure Romanian or Bulgarian girls, official age 13, 14, unofficial age 13, 14, you buy a birth certificate in Romania for €1,000, you are 2 years older. Yeah? So when we're 16, you can have an official working contract. All this is not, this I meant with that they produce, of course, a value added, and this is then more a black economy. And I know that in Mediterranean countries, the term black economy may be more often used because you have a high interaction with organized crime, yeah? Especially in the agriculture sector in the south of your country. Yeah? So I'm aware of this, yeah? And to separate this, I think there are some extents made. Also in another publication with the Italian co-authors, we tried to do this. And here we see a high interaction. So the term black economy may be more correct than, this is also your question, than for your countries than for Austria, Germany, or countries further up the north. Yeah? The corruption and the interaction of the shadow economy, of course, this is a delicate thing. Yeah? And what one knows now is that you come into this circle that you have corruption and shadow economy, that in a negative way these two effects stabilize each other. Yeah? You bribe someone and you bribe him, then you can do shadow economy work. Yeah? And for a country it's very difficult to come out if they don't fight both with it. Yeah? Whether, of course, corruption is more sensitive how large the state sector is. A smaller state sector, simply, and this I hope I understood you correctly, is the question. With a more private sector, corruption from the public sector is lower, and if you have a more vital private sector in a competitive situation, then corruption is certainly lower, and this shows not my research, but those of Axel Treyer and others. Yeah? Also then the question, the shadow economy should pay taxes. Of course, this is the big question, and here some research is done between shadow economy and official economy. How strong is the substitution, and how strong is the substitution effect? And is it so? Most politicians are telling, oh, at least in Austria and Germany, they do, oh, if we wouldn't have a shadow economy, all problems would be solved. We wouldn't have unemployment, and we would have more taxes, we could do more, we could even lower if you make a type of experiment with people, so you demand shadow economy workers, like to have a cleaning woman. And this is 95% in Austria and Germany, the cleaning woman is working black. Yeah? It's not officially paid, and it's certainly not different in your country. Yeah? So what would happen if you wouldn't have anymore the possibility to have a black cleaning woman or child care, whatever? Yeah? Then 25% from micro studies from Germany and Austria say, I will do it myself. Yeah? 25, roughly 30% will say, I wouldn't demand it. Yeah? I would not demand it in the official economy because it costs double the price. Yeah? And only between 40–30% would say, I would demand it in the official economy. So there is effect. If there would be no shadow economy, people would more ask this kind of service in the official effect. But this effect varies between, as I said, 25 and 40%. So it's not 100%. Yeah? So it's not so easy that one could say that would solve so many problems. And a lot, and there's another negative factor. The most stabilizing factor of the shadow economy is that this money which is earned is immediately spent in the official economy. You don't work in the shadow economy for your savings board. Yeah? You work even in times when we had interest rates which were worthwhile. Yeah? Today maybe a special situation, but you work in the shadow economy because you want to buy a second car, you want to expand your house, you want to do this, you just use it for living expenses. So this money goes back, and if you would reduce the shadow economy by 50%, this money would not be earned anymore and would have a negative effect on the official economy. So in the big financial crisis for a lot of countries, one could show that the increase of the shadow economy stabilized at least a part of the business sector because people could earn some money and did immediately spend it. Yeah? Coming to your question, so it's a the conclusion is a very difficult welfare problem, and you have a calculation, No, I should have put it on. So as I said, so the welfare calculation, and I always get the question, it was implicit of the question, what is the optimal size of a shadow economy? I don't know any country where it's zero. Yeah? Maybe North Korea, but even I wouldn't say it's zero. Yeah? So what is the optimal size? And this would be an optimal welfare calculation. So how much should we have? How much should we transfer into the official economy to get a maximum of additional taxes out? Yeah? So I haven't seen a good paper so far which